right? It's not realistic in any way. These are high-stress situations, and yeah, you may have made the correct call. He may think it was the wrong call. He may actively be sloughing you, or you might actually have the wrong call. In all situations, well, except for him actually sloughing you, in 2 of the 3 situations, I think it's completely reasonable that he would say, no, that didn't happen, right? And that's why de-escalating the situation becomes such a big deal. Too many times I see, basically, I tell him, no, it didn't, it hit me right here.
Fuck you, you sluffer, why are you fucking saying that?
Right, exactly, and he comes at me like, no, you got hit. Like, don't you try to cheat. Like, I caught it, you trying to cheat me now, and now I'm like, no, it didn't, it hit me right fuck there, right? Like, no, I'm done, and now
I'm so tired of this shit. Get out of my freaking ring if you're gonna play like that.
Exactly. Now he's coming at it from this like, no, I am the authority. I told you what happened. You want to cheat? You get out of here. And once again, I'm like, I didn't even cheat. Like, how are you even freaking saying this? And now we're starting to get heated, right? I hate that, right? I hate when a Reeve meets someone saying that they did wrong by going, no, I didn't. Like, it shouldn't happen like that, right? A Reeve needs to understand, first of all, that they are fallible. That they are trying to do a service to this game and to these fighters, but these fighters are also going to be extremely like high adrenaline moments. A lot is riding on this, and it is very meaningful for them. So sometimes just the idea of getting hit in the hip means they lost, and they're gonna be upset and looking for something, because it's just human nature, right? So instead of talking about like, well, this is what we need to do, or like, no, you're out of here. I'm very big on de-escalating the situation, right? One of my go-to phrases in this is going to be things like, I say, that hit you in the hip.
It didn't hit me in the hip. What are you talking about?
Like, so I apologize if it didn't hit you in the hip. That's what I saw it hit, and I'm the Reeve, so I have to call it. I apologize if it was a bad call.
Bullshit.
And then he walks off, right? And that's really how it goes. It's not like I have never had someone step up after that, right? After I say, because guess what? I'm telling the truth. I'm pretty certain he got hit in the hip, but I could be wrong. I've definitely seen video afterwards, or had someone come up to me afterwards who was like, dude, I was standing right behind him. It didn't get to his shoulder. And I'm like, really? You're like, and I was sure it hit him in the shoulder. But I have to make that call.
It changes from a missed call, or maybe he was mistaken and he actually got hit in the hip, or you made a missed call. It changes the atmosphere and the results completely when you say you're a cheater, stop cheating, and everybody fucking hears you say you're a cheater, stop cheating, and then this guy, oh, I was at the tournament and yeah, he was fucking cheating, and they wasn't even watching the fucking fight. But now this guy goes and he tells his brothers, yeah, he was trying to slough.
Well, that's a horrible stigma to put on somebody when they're not doing it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the biggest part of the de-escalating is basically taking responsibility for your call, right? Taking acceptance that you are making a call, knowing that you're human, you might have messed it up, but instead of saying, no, you got hit, you're saying, no, I saw you get hit, I think it hit, and I got to call that, right? Because now you've given him leeway to not be a cheater, you just made a bad call. And people are much quicker to accept that I made the mistake than they made the mistake, right? So that's an important part in pretty much any de-escalating situation. Yes, ma'am.
So kind of building off of that, and you may be getting to this later, what if a fighter, like what if you made the calls, you think are good, you express that, now fighters like, well, don't get in Rel's ring, she's gonna call X and such being hit every time.
You have to brush that off.
You do.
There's nothing, you can't stop that person from saying that. If people feel like there's a bad call, you have to, that's the pressure that you take, right?
Yeah, and after the situation, you can talk to them. Mm-hmm. You can talk to someone else. Like you can go to Goldcrest. Are you king right now?
I'm not.
Oh, okay. Well, you go to Goldcrest anyway. He's a nice guy.
King of our hearts.
Right. And talk to him and say like, hey, I may have made a bad call. I was trying my best, but they like they're saying all this stuff. And you can have a conversation with them about like, you know, these people are doing the best they can. Like, it may have been a bad call, but we don't want to go back and do this. It's not a malicious thing. You know, we can talk about them after the fact, but during the tournament, you really need to brush it off. There's not a real good answer other than that.
Yeah, you just have to just let it go.
And there's a difference between someone complaining to their friend, maybe loudly, and saying, "You're shit, Reeve," or something like that. Now we're talking about a different situation, right? Where if they're becoming that combative, then I might give them one chance and say, like, "Hey, you need to calm down and go ahead and head to the back of the line, please." And then if they want to continue doing it, then I would look at removing them from the tournament. And if they want to continue, then
And
we're
you can
talking about
definitely
the
talk to the
game.
person running the tournament and go, look, this guy's being abusive to the Reeves. Because no one should be belligerent to you. I mean, you're there doing a service, you are working for them, you're working for everybody. And if one guy is going to be belligerent to you like that, they might need to be removed.
Right.
Right? But to say that they can't blow off steam and say, oh, that sucked, don't be in her ring, like, fuck them. But if they're just like, get out of her ring, she's gonna cheat you, like, constantly, they gotta go.
Right.
Because that's not good for anybody.
Right.
Nobody. That doesn't do a service for any other fighter, and it disservices some fighters.
Yeah. So I think it's really important. Like, I talk about de-escalating a situation. You should de-escalate the situation, but there will be times when something has to happen. Thankfully, that's very rare, right? If you don't meet them with their aggression with aggression, very often it's like 2 sentences and they go, and that's it. It's done, right? Because we didn't meet aggression with aggression. We just basically went like, sorry man, I'm just doing my job. I apologize you made a bad call, but that's, I mean, it's what I saw, so the call stands.
And
Right?
it's not like we're doing this for strangers either.
Right.
Pretty much we're reaving the same people tournament after tournament after tournament. Right? So everyone should be able to recognize that. And it shouldn't be to such aggression that it's ridiculous.
Right.
You can talk to them after the fact, at the end of the day,
Exactly.
or whatever the case is. If you're uncomfortable with what happened or you're worried about it, you can talk to them and like, hey, look, you know, if I was wrong, I apologize, but that's what we're supposed to do.
Mhm.
That'll help a lot of it.
And along those lines, we aren't reaving strangers, right? We have previous relationships with a lot of them. We might actually be in a romantic relationship with someone in a tournament. We've got plenty of like things that can happen. If you have the ability and you know that you might be in a, like, you know, if your boyfriend is fighting in a tournament, right? And
If your boyfriend is fighting.
It's hard when you're with me and all the guys want you.
So, you know, if your boyfriend's fighting in a tournament and it's getting to the semifinals, if you have Reeves, it might be a good idea to put another Reeve in. Not even because, I mean, there's 2 reasons for it. Even if you're going to make the right calls, the other person, the other fighter, might feel a little uncomfortable with you making a call against them, right? And we've already talked, it's a high stress situation. Sometimes people are looking for an excuse to blow off steam because they have frustration and they need to do something, right? And then also, missing a call or making a bad call on your boyfriend or your girlfriend can also cause problems that you don't really want to have in your head when you're making that call. Like, oh, I'm about to have to call him the sluffer. All right, you're a cheater. You're like, yeah,
Sleeping on the couch
sleeping on the couch tonight. Right. So we don't always have the luxury of being able to recuse ourselves. We don't always have enough. We don't have enough people.
But if you can, it's okay.
Yeah, if there's an option, you should take the option.
Right.
At the very least, if there's not an option, you should ask both fighters if you're comfortable with it.
And I've done that
You
too.
should avoid it if at all possible.
When Reeving the Hammer of God tourney, anytime there was a Justicar in the ring, I always asked, or my squires were in the ring, are you okay with me Reeving? If not, I'll get you to a different field. 9 times out of 10, they're like, we're good.
All right. Last thing I want to talk about before we kind of move into some role play and some different things. We're going to do some little bit of practice reaving, and we're going to practice the different situations dealing with them. Is basically opponent interaction, right? How the opponents are interacting and when you have to deal with stuff. One of the most common ones that come across is basically if I say, Shane, you got hit in the hip. He says, no, you didn't. Like, no, I saw you get hit in the hip, right? And then I'm Shane's opponent, and Shane goes,
Did you feel like you hit me in the hip?
I thought I got
Like,
it.
I think it was grazy. Wasn't it grazy?
Well, I mean, I guess we can refight,
Okay, let's do that.
right? A lot of
Okay.
It is a common thing where if I'm not getting anywhere with the read, I will instead turn and basically make a plea to my
I
opponent.
failed to plea 1, now I'm trying plea 2.
Right? Now, there's a difference between me saying,
The Reeve saying, Shane, you're dead.
and me going, no, I didn't hit him, he got that block. Right? Now we're good, right? Now I would accept that, like, okay, I'm comfortable with that. The player who I just called as a winner turned to me and said, I did not actually get that, let us continue fighting. I'm okay with that call. However, the player I just called dead, turning to his opponent saying, I don't think you hit me, you want to refight it. Now he's making a plea to see if his opponent is a nice enough guy or doesn't want to deal with,
The stigma of being called.
yeah. Non-confrontational, there we go.
Yeah.
To avoid confrontation is saying, no, we can just fight it again, right? No, you can't. I made a call. I saw you get hit in the hip. Thank you for being a nice guy and trying to do this, but it's my call, it's my responsibility, so this lays on me, right? Also, you have to deal with some of the worst things that you can deal with from time to time is instead issues where your opponent are starting to get into it, right? Getting heated, calling the other one a cheater, right? Like, you know that hit you. You know that hit you.
Like, you never hit me with that shot in your life.
Right? These are the situations where you need to be able to take control. Have people maybe back up, reset, right? Reset, talk to them and say, like, this needs to stop, all right? I understand that y'all are heated. Don't get into it. This is my calls, all right? Let's finish this fight and be clean, right? Obviously, if someone gets too heated, starts getting pushy, we have to deal with something else. That's when we're talking about moving from a tournament or doing something in the game as a whole. Thankfully, that almost never happens as long as you're making sure that you're keeping control and de-escalating the situation. You're just going to see over and over again that I'm going to say de-escalate the situation, right? Because that's generally all it takes. Just don't meet them with aggression, right?
Stepping back, just talk them down. Be like, hey, if work it out.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're saying in that case, you're talking to us as in us working to de-escalate it, not necessarily saying like if you guys were going at it, hey guys, can we just de-escalate this a little bit here?
Correct. It is on the Reeve to control that situation.
Right.
That is your space.
Yes.
So these guys are already heated. They're not going to cool themselves down they're very rarely going to cool themselves down once they've gotten that heated.
Right.
You need to de-escalate it, especially if the guy you think didn't take the shot is bringing this up and the other guy saying you're cheating. You also need to be careful as the Reeve to not look like you're taking sides with one or the other and de-escalate it without
If
doing
you
that.
separate them, and then you go talk with one, have the other Reeve go talk with the other, and then swap, and then talk to the other Reeve, and make it look fair, give them time to cool down.
Right.
Because you've separated them. You've given their room to vent, but they're venting towards someone they're not angry at, right? I'm angry at him. I'm not angry. Tell me what's wrong. Okay? What are you upset about? You think you feel like it hit? Okay. Tell me, give me your grievances. And a lot of people just want to vent. And if they vent to the person they're not mad at, they'll calm down, and then you can get it going back.
I think that's pretty good. That's the lecture portion of our class. Now we're going to move on to some. Basically, Shane and I are going to fight some, and we're going to have people actually read us, and you're going to be making the calls, right?
Y'all gonna slow it down to like 50%?
I wasn't planning on maybe 80%, right?
We'll slow it down a little bit because again, we're going to put out situations that we want you to deal with.
Some of these are going to be just normal fights, and you need to make the call. Sometimes something's going to happen in the fight, and you're going to need to make the call there, right? So,
And everyone's gonna get to stand up, so don't think anyone gets to hide in the background.
right. All right.
But we're gonna step back and come up with our scenario. So we'll take our first volunteer. First volunteer, anyone? And like,
Hey, while they're doing that, for all y'all that's actually here that aren't fighting in tournaments very often, and you're literally here because you actually read. Stay really hard. You might be
What's the scenario?
fighting in the tournament.
Volunteer.
You have to do it so I can go work.
Can't change it. Would you like to see me do it? I should get real low, right, and make sure those dark sides.
All right, tap. Back up. Lay on.
Oh, sorry, back. Sounds good.
What was that one? What was it called? What was the outcome?
I thought I got him in the back.
Okay, that's what it looked like to me. I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page here.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
Did he hit you in the leg at all during that?
Yeah, like 3 times.
Okay. But you didn't drop.
I was trying to find my sword.
Okay. But you didn't call posting either at the time.
Well, I'm dead. I lost though.
Oh, you lost. Okay. Sorry. I didn't understand the outcome of that either.
okay, so what happened in that fight? Okay, tell us what happened in that fight. Anyone? Raise your hand.
So, before you dropped the sword, did something happen here?
On who?
See, now it's recorded, so now I'm nervous.
No.
Well, I understand, but tell us what you saw.
that
It
side,
doesn't
yeah.
matter. Tell us what you saw. That's what it comes down to.
Your first hit. Before you dropped the sword, it almost looked like you got here and then you dropped it. Something like that. So
Okay.
at that point, I was like, oh, he can drop whatever he wants, fight's over.
Well, what I saw was he hit Brett in the leg, Brett hit Tugen in the arm, Tugen switched, Brett dropped his sword, and then Tugen hit Brett again. Correct?
Is that your call?
That's my call.
Okay.
Okay. I dig it. Where'd I get you to?
You have me in the arm.
I got
Elbow.
him in the arm, and then he killed me after.
Okay.
Right?
Right, okay.
So, what I would tell you is, when I had dropped my sword, he unquestionably killed me. Right? You were worried about whether or not I dropped the post. You were trying to talk me through that. And I don't mind that you were trying to talk me through that, except for there was unquestionably, no matter what I decided, I lost that fight when he killed me.
Yeah.
Right?
So the sequence didn't matter as
Right.
long as I wasn't dead and he was dead.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So instead of walking me through and trying to figure out everything that happens in a situation where you know, no matter what it was, I lost,
Right.
just call it and step back.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Because
Yeah,
the
no,
series
yeah,
doesn't matter, and you don't want to talk somebody
Right, I wasn't-
into a loss
Right.
when you already know it's a loss.
Right. I wasn't getting the outcome of the fight before I was trying to
Correct.
decipher what happened. So
Right.
it didn't matter in the end anyway.
Yeah, the only reason why you would talk him through that is if you thought a situation over here would have changed what happened,
Gotcha.
right? If I would have been dead before that last part of the fight, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Sounds good. Wait, someone in?
That was beautiful.
I know.
We didn't even plan on that one.
There was one that first time around when you spun around, I didn't know if he hit your back or if he hit your shield.
Back. Come on. Come on, good clean fight. Tap. Step back. Lay on. Dead. You're dead. Your first shot landed at the very least on the arm. You continued to swing and he took it, but it was late, and then he swung again.
Well, I think it was on time. It was on time, wasn't it?
Afraid not.
Alright.
Good call. Ready? Ready? Back up. Lay on. Cut. You hold please. He hit this leg.
No, he didn't. He did hit me directly in the back.
I didn't see. I'm sorry.
He did stab me in the arm too.
When I did this,
Yeah.
he hit me dead in the shoulder. I just said that I got the block and kept going.
All right.
Yeah.
I saw the swing and I saw the block there. I wasn't honestly sure if it hit or not. But then after the fact,
You gotta
I was
say something
positive
then
he hit this
at the
damn
time.
leg.
Honestly, I will never. If you really aren't that sure, and I think that was pretty good acting. I tell myself, there are times that you can't make that call,
Yeah.
but just be a little careful of that because I don't think that it came anywhere close to blocking. If he hit like his
Alright.
entire
Oh, yeah.
face.
The issue is if you're in the middle of an engagement. I'm not sure if it hit. I'm fucking the fight up completely. If I'm like, did that hit? When I'm not sure that
If
it
you're
hit.
not sure,
You know what I mean?
There's some truth.
And in some respects of that, but right when we backed up after that engagement and we reset,
That would have been.
stop it.
Yeah.
Alright.
Because at this point,
because we did just go like boom, boom, throw, and then we stepped back, and then we went back
Yeah.
in. There was plenty of time for you to stop at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah. I was watching that and I saw the block. To me, it didn't look good.
did you hear it? Because the difference between that
Yeah.
and that.
Yeah, well, the blade was on the back when the shot was thrown.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah,
and
yeah. It's hard to decide.
I know.
I'm
We're
here,
just
Bond.
giving- we're just
I'm
giving you
here,
some-
Bond.
we're giving you real world
We're
examples.
giving you
That's
some
it.
advice. We're giving you some advice.
That's why we can talk theory all day long, and this is why we say you have to practice this skill. This is not something you can say, I'm going to do
We
this
got
right.
fights. It's going to be a long day of fights. We need y'all to fight again.
All right, let's get a new guy.
Oh, go.
Shit.
Leg.
Call. That first shot, it looked a little high. I saw it connect above your.
All right, let's pull his belt.
I'm sorry, it may have been, but it looked like it hit on your belt from the collar.
What do you think? Do you think that was above the belt?
I mean, I thought it got pretty high.
Read that. Good. Tackle down. So,
You two make eye contact like
moment I said it, dude.
Give him an insult, break him off.
I hit him in the hip.
I hit it from the back.
You hit the arm.
That was clearly the back.
It was actually arm right here.
Really? Like you're gonna let him get away with that? Did you see the cheese?
You saw him get hit in the hip.
I did see the hip, but it did look a bit deep on you.
I mean, that's pretty deep.
It's a weird angle, but I did see it connect around, so I'm gonna call this a final.
Okay.
Yeah, step back.
Dead.
There's a shot. Over your board here, it gets a little high.
Hit the board.
It looks like it went over. I'm gonna call it. It definitely went around.
So what is? So Simon?
No, it was your.
Oh, nice.
All right. It was hit and then.
Perfect. Perfect.
So then what are we at? What's the score here? Are you guys going to a score or are you just continuing?
I don't know, Mr. Reed.
I'm like 4-0.
I've cheated better than that.
I've cheated.
All right, next person.
Yep.
Glad we both don't
contact with shields anymore. Tap them back up.
You see that?
I saw you throw a shot this way. Where did that land?
What about him grabbing my shield?
I did not see that.
It's okay.
That's a tricky one.
You said no more shield contact, and then I did completely
I knew you
legal.
were going to. I was looking for it, but I still didn't see
Yeah.
it.
I walked
This
down
is
the
when I
way.
couldn't see the hand.
It was okay. It was.
The first
legal.
fight
We
was
wanted to
straight
see what
up
you did.
bashing. The second fight was legal shield manipulation.
Yep.
I was playing Dark Hunt for a minute. Do you want to keep going?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Okay. Tap it back up. Slam.
Arm. Good.
The first shot that you threw over your head, where did that land?
I got hit in the head, then I got hit in the arm, and his final one got hit me in the body. But I thought I already killed him.
The first one did look like head, but it was on the other side, so I couldn't tell. And your first shot that you threw over, where did that land on you?
Right here on the arm.
See, because it was so close up, I could actually tell, but that's where, yeah.
So you're saying he won?
The second shot that you threw looked like it landed on your shoulder.
Nothing hit my shoulder, my arm, and my body got hit.
Your body got hit.
Yeah, but it's whether or not I hit him in the shoulder or not. I only threw one shot. It was straight down his back.
I was knocked on my back. It was right there.
At this point, because we usually play with two reads, I would ask my other read what they saw on that
What'd you
side.
see?
What'd you
Like,
see,
I'm
other
not
read?
seeing.
It's on my phone.
Yeah, just like the other Reeve.
The,
I can't tell you how many times I've had him Reeve
If
with me.
they was at the same time, I would at the very least say you're armed, you got head, but any shot after you hit him in the head was no good. But his simultaneous shot to your arm is good. So you're armed.
Dazed.
It doesn't matter. You're armed and he's good.
It does matter.
I'm gonna need you guys not to argue with the reason.
Not the best call, but I like the confidence. That's what I'm talking about. Own it. Own those terrible calls.
I'm a fuck up. You guys know that already. So.
For the sake of rehashing, right?
Yeah.
I think you were actually you did a very good job, and it would have been better if you had another extra read. Actually, all around, I think the last one was the only one that you missed any call in. So you did very well. Where did I hit you?
It was the arm.
It was the arm.
It was actually the arm.
Okay. He took me in the ear, then the arm, then the body. Right, and the ear may have even been my own sword. Could have possibly hit me in the shoulder, but then there was an arm and a body. Really, all that mattered was where did I hit him, and you kind of have to make that decision because everything after that was clearly me dead. So that's what I like to say when we look in. It was kind of like when you were trying to talk about you were talking about like, well, when did that leg happen? And it seems like you were doing it, and it was like, no, I died. There was like, it doesn't matter when it happened, I died. So when those, just kind of remember that the
And
only
were you
thing
blind
that mattered-
dazed?
No, I was not.
Okay.
I swung multiple times.
Yeah.
Right. The only thing that
So
mattered.
to stop that on a headshot would not have been the right call.
So.
Yeah, we're still.
Yep. So I think you really.
I was
think
just
you
telling
did it
Bainey he
smart.
was wrong.
Yeah.
I'm used to being told I'm wrong, so there.
So
Right.
next up.
That's me.
Is it you? Okay.
Oh God.
You got it, boss. I think it's finally dying.
Oh good. Got it. Oh great. Oh.
Because I think this is an important thing, and maybe I would just
That
ask you
was
to do this maybe next time
The
if we
most
could.
entertaining.
First off, on Brett because of his shirt, Tugen, will you run us through the hit locations
Okay, no problem.
and in the sun so we can see?
I'll drop your shield. Okay. So a valid hit location in amp guard, and I think it pretty much holds anywhere else, right? So shoulder's going to be where the joint starts. Is this shoulder and body all the
Okay.
way down to crotch level of the legs,
Okay.
and then arm all the way out to here, past the wrist is a hand, which hand on weapon does not count.
Is there a best way to determine what is wrist and what's, when you say past wrist, if it's on the joint, is that count?
What I generally say is anything past this bone counts as hand. The moment it's touching this bone, it is an arm.
Got it.
Yeah. And it can hit both locations at the same time and still count as the arm.
Correct.
All right. So leg is going to be the vertical slice up from the groin up to where the hip socket is.
Okay.
Okay.
How do I know what's my hip socket and what's my waist?
There's a bone.
Yeah, there's a bone
It's
there.
hard to,
Okay.
Yeah.
basically, where this bone connects in, right here is leg. You'll feel a bone and it connects into the hip socket right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're normally going to be a couple inches below the belt. Their belt's going to sit normally on their hips. If you got a guy who's got their belt sitting on their belly, obviously you've got to adjust for that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But you're looking at, even if you look at Brett, right below that, that's leg.
Gotcha.
Right? And then leg is going to go all the way down to the foot, where right below the ankle, and there's your ankle bone, and below that is foot on ground. As long as it's on the ground. If the foot is up, I believe as long as the toe's down, it counts as foot on ground.
Yeah, I believe it's everything. As long as
Yeah.
everything's touching.
Can you show me the neck and the collarbone?
Awesome.
And then, yeah, we'll do the back.
Neck and collarbone. So right where you get your slope up is going to be where your neck is.
Brett, can you take a step forward? Yep. Nope, this way, into the sun. Sorry.
So anything below where the slope starts up, this is going to be your shoulder. Shoulder's going to be body, that's going to be dead. And then where you get into the arm, which is actually before this, is still arm.
Yes.
Right to there, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can see that when the fighter raises and lowers their arm, you see that part moving. And that's how you can be able to tell even below the bicolor tunics like that.
Collarbone is torso.
Right. Collarbone is torso, but not once you reach inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your throat is the nice soft area right here, and people can't speak when they actually get hit there, so it's real easy to tell. Then turn around. And then back of the neck is again where you get your slope right here. It's slightly above this tabard. And then down to, and butt is still considered body.
Okay. Next question. Can you show me, there was an example in there about shield, what was acceptable? Because there is some equipment on equipment contact that's allowable.
Yeah.
Could you show an example of allowable and then like when it gets to be too much? Because we know that if you tackle somebody, we're bad, right?
Right. I can absolutely do this. So the general idea is I'm able to manipulate their equipment as long as I am not basically pushing them or moving them off balance, right? So this is absolutely acceptable. I'm only going equipment to equipment and I'm pulling out, right? Now, even if he were to say, try to hold on to it tight and I pull him some with it, we're still in illegal territory.